Ladies and gentlemen, in case you're not aware, it's another Wednesday night, which means we back. Another episode, Eagles Elite Podcast. So, you know, there's always something going on in the world of the Eagles. One of the most hated, loved, talked about teams in the NFL. Some people don't want to admit it, but it is. Let's be real. But, got a couple of previews we're going to be, well, excuse me, reviews we're going to be going through this week. Got a couple of guests for those teams just to hop on with us, kind of go through those games, their thoughts on what happened in those games. We're going to rock with that. We are also going to, of course, talk about updates, news, things like that, breaking news, all that happened in the world of the Eagles. And of course, offensive training camp preview. Some position battles I think we might end up touching on a little bit. A couple of little juicy things happened in the world of the Philadelphia Eagles. And guess what? Last month without football, I'm getting excited. So, before we go any further, a couple of people that we need kind of bring on today. Wyatt, what's up, man?
Not too much, man. Training camp is here. The season is upon us. I'm ready to get into it. We got a lot to talk about.
You already know. Eagles Diva, what it do?
What it do, gang? Bird Gang family, we back. We're back for another week, and training camp started yesterday, so let's get it.
Already. So speaking of that, updates. So I know you both have a lot of juicy things for us to talk about in regards to what's going on with the best team in the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles. So Wyatt, what you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, with the first full practice today came some different news. We released tight end Dalton Keene and placed Devin Allen on the active/non-football injury list. As well, we brought back a familiar face and wide receiver Deon Cain, who's been busy since the last time we saw him. He's been playing in the USFL, and he actually was the MVP of the USFL championship game. He caught multiple touchdowns there, so they decided to bring him back. He is signed. And we also brought in N'Keal Harry from the Patriots for a tryout yesterday as well. No signing as of yet. I'm not even sure that it's going to be imminent at all. But we did bring a couple different players in yesterday to try out for the team.
Nice, nice, nice. And of course, we have our first comment. Tonight, it's not Eagles Diva. She got beat out. Excuse me, not Eagles Diva, Philly. She got beat out. What's going on, Coach Dante?
What up,
Coach Dante.
So yeah, a lot of things going on there. Diva, any updates you want to discuss?
No, I think White covered it.
Well, we did have top 100 list start to drop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I did
guys,
hear about Bradbury being dropped at like in the hundreds, and he went off about that.
Yeah. Devontae is like number 100, isn't he? Or
Mm-hmm.
99?
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
Yep. So Devontae Smith definitely came at 100. So what are you guys' thoughts about him being that low on the list? Should he even be on the list in your opinion? Should he be higher? What are you guys' thoughts? Because it looks like he's the first player on our team that's there, and so far they've gotten up to 71, and we don't have another Eagle there yet. I think there's a few more that we should see. But Wyatt, we'll start with you. What are you guys' thoughts on, just Devontae Smith barely sliding into the top 100?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he should be higher up on the list. I'm not saying like gonna go crazy saying he's like top 50 or anything like that, but 100, I definitely think he's up there because there's some wide receivers already on the list that like I know Devontae's better than. I mean, he's broken like the rookie record in his rookie year as far as receptions. He had a reception record last year as well, as far as also a 1,000-yard season. I mean, he's definitely not only just the top wide receiver two, one of the top wide receiver twos in the league. He could easily be a top wide receiver one on any team as well. I just feel like it's a little crazy to put him at 100.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he should have been in the top 60 at least. I don't understand why he was number 100. I mean, he he did break the rookie record. He had over 400 or 100 receiving yards. So I'm not really sure why, but I mean that's the hate that we get, so I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think we had anybody else on the list so far from what I've seen. But I'm expecting to have at least a couple more players up there. So I think they're only down to like 70 now, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I just think that it comes from just the hate that we receive. That just goes to show you.
Yeah, it's so weird. What about yourself, Cool?
So, man, I mean, I look at it like bullet board material for Devontae Smith. Keep in mind, this list is voted on by players. This is not coaches. This is not executives. This is players. So your fellow players are saying you're only the 100th best player in the NFL. So, hey, I look at it like another opportunity to go out and shut their mouth. I definitely think he should be higher. I mean, I don't have a problem with not being like top 50, right? Top 75, because you do have a lot of quality NFL players, and he's only been in the league a couple of years. He's gotten better from year one to year two. But 100, I mean, I just feel like he should be. To me, a reasonable spot would be, mid 80s, somewhere in that spot, maybe like 90. But it's all good because bulletin board. I do remember also hearing about Bradbury and him saying like, oh, he was very upset because he didn't, get higher or he didn't make the top 100 according to, what's come out so far. This hasn't been revealed. So, but my thing is for guys who feel snubbed, and this on any team, but especially Eagles, we always say no one likes us and we don't care, but it can still be motivation. So if you're not going to put Devontae Smith higher, you're just going to barely put him in at 100, after the year he had last year. It's good. Show him like, hey, you want to only give me 100? I'm gonna make you give me 70 next year. I'm gonna climb up the list. That's all it is. We should see guys like Hassan Reddick, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Jason Kelsey, and others on this list. So we'll see how many of those guys actually make this list. But there should be at least about 5 or 6 other Eagles on this list. So we're going to see how it plays out. But, anyone who gets snubbed, just remember, your fellow players voted for this, make them pay.
Straight up.
I mean, we're getting back into season mode. Off-season mode is like, yeah, it's cool. We're talking about what's happening. We kind of speculating. But just so y'all know, we get into regular season mode now. Regular season mode's a little different. It's a little more brutal right here when the season starts. Y'all remember how we felt about our defensive coordinator last year. I'm not even calling that dude's name no more. You know what I'm saying? So we know things can get real serious.
Get spicy quick.
Oh, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, we have our first guest of the evening. I'm going to be switching over, transitioning here to talking the Week 13 matchup we had last year against the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to bring on Alex, who is a fervent Packers fan. Alex, what's going on, man?
How's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely. I hope everyone's doing well.
Absolutely, man. We're just ready to talk a little Green Bay, Philadelphia, Week 13 from last season. So, Alex, as our guest, man, start us off, man. Talk to us about your thoughts about this matchup.
The matchup, I mean, I didn't really like it heading into the game. We were 3-8, or we were 4-7 at the time. I mean, we're not playing good. Our running game was starting to pick up a little bit more, which was great, but we didn't see the Christian Watson that we saw at the end of the season. Dobbs had all of a sudden just stopped production. He ended up becoming one of our worst receivers at the end of the year, where he started off super hot and then just disappeared for us. But our defense in that game, coming into that game, was starting to pick up. It found its pace. Quay Walker, man, was chasing A.J. Hawk's franchise record of most tackles by a rookie. So that was impressive for us. I'm really happy for that. think overall, if we would have stopped the run game by Philadelphia, I think we had a little bit of a better chance there, but just unfortunately did not happen.
Fair enough. All right, Diva, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it was a pretty good game. I think that it was close because the defense played horrible a few times during the game. But overall, it was a good game. Still, Jalen Hurts had 157 rushing yards.
Crazy.
And Miles Sanders had 143, so he had more than Miles Sanders, and I think that's just absurd. And I think AJ did fumble the ball once, and then Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball. But other than that, it was a pretty good game. The defense lacked in certain areas at certain times of the game.
Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, like Diva said, you never want to see your QB running as much as he did in this game. I mean, 17 carries for 157 yards is nuts. It was like only 5 more yards than he passed for. He had 153 passing and 2 touchdowns. But I mean, the offense was pretty much rolling for this game. We were doing what we wanted on the ground, which throughout the course of the season, we just kept saying, run the ball. And this is exactly where we needed to be doing it here in this game. I mean, there were definitely some plays made through the air, but definitely the reason we won this game was due to the run game. And man, that defense, like Diva was saying, they were doing everything in their power to kind of give the game away to them for the most part. And especially like once Jordan Love came in, it seemed like they kind of relaxed a little bit, leaving the middle of the field wide open, not tackling people. But I mean, they were having trouble tackling guys all season up to this point. And, coming off those last 2 games we talked about last week with Washington and the Colts, this was kind of a get right game for us a little bit, and they were able to pull it off, but it was way closer than it should have been, I feel like.
Yeah, from the Eagles side, you look at sacks and interceptions. That to me kind of helps tell the story defensively. We gave up 33 points. We had Hassan Reddick had half a sack. Brandon Graham had half a sack. And the other sacks we had, Josh Sweat had 1, Richard Cox had 1. So it's not a lot of sacks. It's another reason why we gave up 33 points. We did have 2 interceptions. Reed Blankenship got his first interception as a NFL player, and Josiah Scott got an interception. What was funny to me offensively was we had a Quez Watkins showing. Only 3 catches for 35 yards, but a big touchdown catch for Quez. That definitely
touchdown.
Definitely helped us out a lot. We want to see that
from him way more often.
Depending on how things go in training camp, we might only be seeing that when the 4th receiver's in the game. But
highlights.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later, definitely. But yeah, I mean, even on the Packers side, right, and I'll leave this for you, Alex. Talk to us about what you saw from the Packers side as far as
for us starting off. I mean, losing Rodgers early on. I mean, like in that game, we knew his thumb was bad coming in from that Giants game. It was the question of, well, do we start Love knowing that we're playing the best team in the league at that time? Like, you guys were still rolling. You had 1 loss at the time. I mean, there was nothing we should have done. I think coming into the camp, Love was taking most of the starter reps, and Rodgers playing the backup role just in case, that needed to happen. But we had 2 interceptions. We're sacked 3 times. I mean, O-line looked really great for us, but it was A.J. Dillon that really kind of spoke out to me in that game. That was the guy you guys, for some reason, could not stop when we were in our 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 5 situations. We would just bounce to the outside or run it right up the middle, and he did what he wanted for you guys. I mean, only 8 attempts on 64 yards. I mean, if he gets 8 more carries, I mean, he's probably pushing Miles Sanders numbers right there, or even Hurts numbers. But Christian Watson, your secondary, I think, is gonna have a problem there that's not really addressed much, other than Darius Slay. I mean, they don't have a lot of help over the top, and Christian Watson was able to expose that a lot with his speed and quickness and that. So I think that really helped us defensively. We had 1 fumble recover by A.J. Brown that ended up fumbling that, picked up by Quay Walker. Didn't get returned for long, just got a couple yards out of that. But I want to highlight our special teams, because this does not get talked about a lot, because Green Bay special teams is usually terrible. I want to highlight this. our Keyshawn Nixon had 172 yards on 5 returns. Now, the league average right now is about 75 yards on 4 returns a game. Now, you take that, he had almost 100 yards more than the NFL average. So Keyshawn Nixon played again, and then Pat O'Donnell on 2 punts at 83 yards and downed you guys inside the 10 and inside the 20. I mean, I think that's what kept us in there because we pinned you guys deep in your territory, allowed us to, get the ball back in somewhat of our territory, at least kick 3. And we were just taking over on our chances that we got after, your 3 and outs and all that. Now, Jordan Love, he showed his promise. I know he's got a lot of hate lately, but 6 for 9 was finding wide open guys. Yes, the defense was a little bit more relaxed because it wasn't Rodgers, but he showed promise of stepping into throws and stepping into everything else. So I think against a great defense like that, I think that is giving us a lot of promise. But yeah, that's all I have on that one.
Well, I'll tell you, our special team sucks.
Garbage.
So if you're going to have a
Garbage,
great
yeah.
special team game, it's against us. Our special team sucked. Every game we played last year. I don't know how that coach still has a job.
I don't
I don't
know.
know how like 2/3 of those
I don't
guys are still on
either.
the team that played on special teams last year. Our
Yeah.
special teams was trash,
terrible.
horrendous, garbage, terrible. So if you're going to have a great special teams game, believe me, it's against the Philadelphia Eagles last year. You can go back and look.
Mhm.
We gave up a lot of yards, got pinned back a lot. What you're talking about is the story of our season. We
Mhm.
were terrible on that specific facet of the game. But it is your job to take advantage of it, right? I mean, your coaching staff clearly saw, hey, these guys suck at special teams. Let's take advantage there. And I mean, it did work out. We didn't quite close things out and win the game, but you hung in there because, again, our special team sucked and our defensive coordinator played 5 yards off of everybody and just said, hey, anything you want underneath, you can have. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 3. We're going to give you 5 yards anyway. We don't worry about that. So a couple of things that, we've had some issues with all season, but hey, fresh day. We can woosah. I've got my calming waterfall candle on when I think about him. So I'm good to go. But
But it shows you also how good Rodgers is and how flawed the secondary was for us too, because with that bum hand that he had, he was still, finding guys wide open. It looked like he was just floating the ball to him. Like he made it look so easy, even with, having a bad hand that game.
even
He's still
Jordan
making
Love came
electric
in.
plays.
That just goes to show you how garbage G-Man was, because even with Love coming in, he still didn't adjust at all.
Yeah.
Adjustments.
It looked worse with Jordan Love.
He
Right,
sure
so we
didn't
have a
adjust to the run
Facebook
game. We don't know
user.
that.
Yeah.
We can't tell who you are, but definitely giving the Eagles. So appreciate that as well. It was a daunting game to watch if you're an Eagles fan, because we should have been a lot better than Green Bay. And I'm not saying we should have shut out Green Bay or Green Bay shouldn't have had any points or anything. And there she is, finally.
Philly.
Philly, what's going on? We got to look for you in the chat, Philly. But it's just crazy because execution is poor, right? This is something that's kind of been a theme throughout the year, execution, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Playing back too much. This is a game we didn't have Jordan Davis or CJ GJ, so those were some of the reasons why some of these things happened. But you got to have a next man up mentality, right? We didn't have someone to really replace what Jordan Davis brought, just being a big guy as of last season that could clog space, make it difficult for guys to, run up the middle, would have helped neutralize A.J. Dillon, which we didn't do a good job of. And again, while he was out, running theme. Teams were able to get one of their backs off. The other backs, not so much, but they were always able to get one back. It wasn't always the starter, but one back was always able to have a good game against us. So some things that, we saw, we talked about it, after the game, concerning, because it's just happens, right? You just get in those situations where you don't have some of the guys you need. You don't have the correct coaching. You put those two things together, it's not always something pretty to watch. But a win is a win. I take them all day.
Yeah, I mean, it was great for you guys. I mean, it kept you guys rolling all year, and it showed in the Super Bowl too. I mean, I think if you guys lose that game, I think you guys lose a lot of your momentum, because that's a heartbreaker. I mean, that's a team you're not supposed to supposed to lose to. And yeah, you guys didn't lose to them, but you kept a lot closer. But that's because the team started playing well. And for the Packers, it was more if one running back is doing well in the rushing, the other's doing well in receiving. It was never they really both had both off days because Jones still had he had 56 yards and a touchdown on the ground, plus his 40 on the or 56 in the air, 43 on the ground. I mean, he still had close to 100 yards
total yards.
Total yards. So I mean, it's never one off. I think Green Bay's starting to realize that, hey, we're not a passing team anymore. We moved on from Rodgers. We're more of going to be that running back team. And I think in the future, I mean, against you guys, I think we can put up a little bit better fight here with Love understanding our game plan and just developing this year.
Definitely. So while we have you here, Alex, talk to us about what do you expect to see from the Green Bay Packers this upcoming season?
I'm not expecting a huge year. Like I'm honestly be honest with this. I think the Lions are going to take the division here. I don't think the NFC North is that strong this year. I honestly think it's one of the weaker ones this year. I think a lot of teams are going to be more around that 500, 9-7, 8-9 area. And I think for the Packers, it's going to be relying on Christian Watson, A.J. Dillon. You know, A.J. Dillon's in a contract year, like we just saw with Saquon Barkley. I mean, that franchise tag's probably going to have to be in play, or he's going to have to sign for a hometown discount because we just don't have the cap space with Rodgers, Rodgers actually just signed a 2-year extension and has a $107 million cap hit next year for the Jets. So handicapping the Jets like he just did with the Green Bay. But I think defensively, I'm excited. Got rid of Amos, but we drafted a couple receivers. Luke Van Sky, I think, out of Iowa, our first-round pick, the edge rusher. I mean, his nickname's Hercules for a reason. I mean, he's 6'5", absolutely shredded. I mean, he's going to be a monster, absolutely just going to demolish defenses. I think that's going to be a guy that you pair up with Rashawn Gary on the edges. It's going to be very scary. And like you guys talked about secondaries, it's that next man up mentality. And for us, we've always had that. I mean, look at us. We lost a corner last year to Achilles. Who steps up? Keyshawn Nixon steps up halfway through the season. And Rasul Douglas 2 years ago. I mean, we've always had those guys that have been stepping up for us off our squads. If we just keep doing that. No Mason Crosby this year, so it'll be interesting in the kicking spot. Brand new kicker, rookie out of Auburn. It's the first time in I think 15 years. I think they said that we'll have a new kicker. Like Mason Crosby has started every game that he has not missed a game in 15 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see how our special teams adapts with that. But I'm hoping for a 9-7, 9-8 record, and we hopefully squeeze into a wild card spot. I think Jordan Love is showing a lot of promise. Looking at that training camp videos right now and just kind of watching his feet. That was the thing. A lot of people were worried about his footwork. And it looks like he's a lot more comfortable. He's stepping into throws. He's not tripping over his feet like we saw a couple years ago. He's looking more confident. He's looking more like a quarterback. Honestly, I think you could compare him to Jalen Hurts this year. I really think you do. Good arm, great speed. It's a dual threat quarterback right here, and I think that's what Green Bay needs is someone that can, in the situation, scramble away from sacks and pick us up a couple yards. Yes, he's not as good as Jalen Hurts, but I think it's a great comparison right now for a young kid that's going to get his first career season at the helm of a legendary franchise. So I'm really excited for the season. Hopefully, him and Christian Watson put up 1,000 yards and we start rolling.
That's what's up.
Okay.
Hopefully you do well, man.
Absolutely. Diva, any other thoughts on the Green Bay Packers game?
I think the biggest thought is we left it all out there. I mean, came up short. I mean, a lot of turnovers for us. That just not a clean game. I think if it's a cleaner game, I think it's a 50 to 56 to 53 game instead of our 7-point loss in 40-33 because both defenses just were not doing anything that game, but that's all right.
Yeah.
No. What about you, Diva? Anything?
I mean, I just think that game just goes to show you where we were and why we lost the Super Bowl last year, because that's what happened in plenty of games where defense just could not show up or showed up at the last minute. Offense was doing their thing. And so just like how it was in the Super Bowl, offense was blowing them out, but the defense just couldn't stand up and show out like they were supposed to. So hopefully with this being a new year and us having a new coordinator, you won't see that, and you will see that dominant defense that the Eagles have.
Why? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the same notes we can give about the defense every game this season. I mean, it was like the same thing, and it's like, why isn't this being addressed? You know, it's the same problems you have every single game. Why aren't they addressed throughout the season, or why aren't they trying to fix some of the things throughout the season? It's just like Diva said. I mean, it's one of the things that really came back to bite us in the Super Bowl. Of course, he who must not be named was a big part of that as well. But I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, going forward with a new DC, be better times on the defense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Alex, appreciate you hopping on and talking the game with us. Just tell everybody where they can find you, man.
I appreciate you guys. You guys can find me on Coolest Show once the regular season starts. It's kind of where I hang out. I talk a little bit of Vikings and I talk a little bit of Packers. I mean, I'm there almost every week, and I love football, man. So, catch me on any show that's really talking sports. I'm there. So thank you guys and have a great night.
You too, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
All right, so guys, we've got to get into what we have going on here at training camp. So we got some battles that we know we need to see who's going to end up winning those. And a lot of those are on offense. We talked about a couple possibilities on defense last week. A little more of a stretch for the most part. But on the offensive side of the ball, I think we've got a couple of interesting battles. We've got the right guard. Is it going to be Jack Driscoll? Is it going to be Tyler Steen? Tyrese Robinson? Maybe they throw Cam Jurgens in there. Like, that to me is one of the two very interesting battles that we have, because we know Jordan Mailata starting at left tackle. We know Lander Dickerson is going to be the left guard. We know Jason Kelsey is going to be the center. And we know Lane Johnson is going to be the right tackle. But that right guard, that's the open spot. So talk to me, guys, and whoever wants to go can first, about who you think is going to win this battle, who you think has a leg up, and if you've heard anything from training camp today.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we heard from training camp this morning, straight from Sirianni, was that they're going to be using, for the meantime, they're going to be putting Cam Jurgens at right guard here. Mainly that's because none of the rookies we have are on the first team, just to start out training camp. That, of course, could change going throughout camp. My guess is once they kind of get them acclimated to the way that training camp rolls for in the NFL, this isn't college anymore, then they could start, upping the reps for some of these guys. Just like you mentioned with Steen, I could easily see him coming into that right guard position going throughout the season. But maybe, in their minds, they didn't want to have Cam Jurgens sit for another year behind Jason Kelsey, even though they did draft him to be that backup, with Kelsey coming back for another year. And who knows how many years after this, depending on what happens. Maybe they do want to kind of put Cam Jurgens in there to get him some playing time and getting him some reps with that line.
What about you? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I can see Jurgens starting. Now, when it gets close to preseason time, I guess it's whoever is playing the best and doing what they got to do in that position will probably get that position. I could see Driscoll possibly taking that position as well, because I know he did play some for us last year. But yeah, it's really going to come down to preseason, especially when it comes to the rookies, of how they're producing.
Yeah, I really think for me, I think Steen is going to have the inside track unless he loses it. But you never know until, like you said, everything actually happens on the field. And also, a couple of comments here. Want to go ahead and highlight. So Philly tells us sorry, crazy night. It's all good, Philly.
As long as you're here.
Yeah, we know
Mhm.
you'd be here. We've got Snowman with the hey hashtag fly
Going
Eagles
on,
fly.
What up,
man.
Snowman?
Appreciate that, Snowman. And then Philly says hopefully no major injuries. Oh,
Most definitely.
Fingers crossed.
absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, major injuries are a concern. And I want to throw this out. You know, he's no longer on the team, but Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, got injured, a non-contact injury that's normally something like an ACL, Achilles, something that you don't really want. And we've talked laughed a lot about him and being sensitive and how he's still, running around and crying about what happened before. And those things are true. Don't get me wrong. But, we're not here to celebrate anybody getting hurt. So
No.
hate the fact that he did get injured. I wanted to see him have an opportunity to go out there this year and get dogged by us when we played. So that's in jeopardy now, as well as see him not be as good as he was without us. That's, in jeopardy now as well. But also,
Mhm.
since the man is hurt. So that does play a part as well. So hopefully, whatever the situation is, that it'll end up being something where he will be able to, return and play. If it's not, then I wish him a speedy recovery because at some point we need to play you.
I agree. But I still don't think
Mhm.
he's gonna be what he was with the Eagles. I mean, he was all right in New Orleans, but there was a reason why they wouldn't give him the money that he wanted to. So I mean, we tried to give it to him. He didn't want it, and his agent fumbled the bag. So I don't know. All I say is karma. You just keep talking. It's money funny. He was talking like 2 days ago, and
Just
man
chirping,
down.
chirping, chirping,
Straight up.
chirping, chirping, chirping.
Straight up. I
Man
mean,
down.
yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see a player get injured like that, but I mean, I think he's definitely a talented player. I'm not sure if, no matter where he's going to be if he's going to be as good as he was with us. I feel like that's also a huge product of the system that he was in and how dominant that defensive line was that was helping out that secondary. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to go into each season doing what he did for us. So, I mean, good luck to him. Hopefully he comes back. I don't want to see him like sitting out a season or anything like that, but I mean, keep our name out your mouth when you come back though.
Yeah. There's gonna be another man down.
Yeah.
And with that being said, so we've got, I think, the second or maybe 1B biggest battle in training camp. Right now, the contestants are Olamide Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins for the slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Could we see someone else, maybe possibly insert themselves into that? Maybe we sign a guy like N'Keal Harry and the team says, throw him in there and see what he can do in that third slot as well, right? You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But as we have it now between Quez Watkins and Olamide Zaccheaus, do you guys think this is going to be a deep battle into training camp, or you think early on we'll kind of get an idea of who is going to be the guy that has the upper hand, or do you guys think this is just it's a free for all, whichever one you guys goes out and claims it, that's who gets it?
So I think right now Nick is gonna stick with Quez. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. He's really gonna stick with him right now, unless Olamia comes out just balling out of his mind. I think we might be stuck with Quez. I think it's probably going to be a shootout because I know Quez has got a chip on his shoulder from us talking about him. But I mean, you got to be a man this year. Like having balls really snatched out of your hand. Now we can't have that. Like if you can't do better than that and learn how to take control of the ball when you fall and if you're gonna try to get back, you got to make sure you secure the ball when you're back up on your feet. And if you don't know how to do those things and catch important plays, like even if Jalen overthrows, you got to go get it. Go and get it, stretch out, do whatever you got to do. If you're not going to do those things, then I think Zaccheaus is really going to take your spot, bro. I know a lot of people still want Quez and I'm being saying, oh, what about Quez? I don't see it. I just don't, unless Quez learn how to secure the ball and man up and get some strength so people ain't literally jerking the ball out of his hands. I don't see it, but you never know.
Only got one thing to say to you, Diva.
Woo!
All right, Wyatt, what are your thoughts on the wide receiver battle?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with Dave on this one. I mean, it's something crazy gotta happen for Quez to lose that job. I feel like, I mean, Quez is gonna go out there doing what he does in training camp. Even if Zacchaeus has a great camp, I still feel like Sirianni is gonna stick with Quez as that third receiver. I mean, not just on Sirianni, it's just how the Eagles are. I feel like we stick by these players until the very last moment. Like, all right, yeah, we're definitely not going to get anything out of this guy. And then they'll get rid of him when it's way too late at that point. So, I mean, I assume that he's going to get that wide receiver 3 job, but they should keep him on a short leash though through that, through the first couple weeks of the season. If you're not making these plays and when they're getting the ball to you, you got to get out of here. Next man up. We don't have time to waste on you for the whole season and have you like you said, fumbling balls, not going and trying hard enough on these slant routes or whatever. I mean, there was a couple plays last year where we would just slow down where Hurts had the ball where it should have been. You just slowed down when you were cutting your route. It's just those kind of mistakes that you cannot be doing, or else, like you said, Zacchaeus is going to come with the job, or else they're going to put one of these other receivers we have on the roster in there.
Hey, Nick, I need you to listen to this.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
I hope.
What I want you to understand about that is whoever's the best, put them out there. I don't want to see you doing this mess that they talk about. I 100% agree with y'all, but we don't need to see this year.
Mm-hmm.
Put the best receiver out there and let him play. What were you about to say, Wyatt?
I was just saying, I want to see him. I want to see Quez succeed. I want to see him go out there and have that fire lit under him to kind of, make him do better. And I mean, just watching that Green Bay game where he had that huge touchdown pass, that's the kind of stuff we want to be seeing from him. We get that glimpse from him like every couple games or so with a nice, nice deep ball or something like that, but he's just not consistent with it.
So I want to see Quez succeed or sit. What I don't want to see is the trash we got last year from our third wide receiver. So either step up and take the position or sit down and watch Olamide Zacchaeus do better than you. That's what I want. I don't care who it is, but I want someone who's going to catch the ball and make the plays. And I've seen Zacchaeus do it. So Quez, you either got to show it in camp or you got to sit down. And like you said, Wyatt, even if you do it in camp, you still need to do it for the season. If you stop doing it, you need to be on the bench.
I mean, Jalen Reagor looked like Randy Moss in camp. But look what he couldn't do a damn thing during the season. Like, come on. Like, we've seen this training camp. We've been fooled by training camp highlights before. Like, you just got to take it with a huge grain of salt.
Like, for real.
I can't.
And they didn't get rid of none of them players until Eagles Nation got to really roasting all them players. I was like, all right, y'all, we got to get rid of them because Eagles Nation ain't about to have it. Yes, like, we shouldn't have to do that for y'all to get rid of these players when you're there with them live, seeing how they're producing. If they're not producing, let them go. We've had 2 wide receivers who did not do anything for multiple years that we kept.
Mm-hmm. And listen, we had a trade last year to send a wide receiver to the Vikings. And like right at the beginning of the season, right before it happened, who's to say it may not happen again? Arizona, just got rid of one of their wide receivers. They possibly may need one. Why don't you send Quez over there and bring old Buda Baker over here for another pick too? That works perfectly. Move Zacchaeus into that wide receiver 3 spot. Boom, there you have it.
Fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I promised you that we would have another special guest to talk a little my second favorite team for the next 2 years, the Tennessee Titans. And we are joined by Miss Jory. Jory, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well. How are you guys?
We are good.
Doing good.
So Jory has Jory Sports Stories where she talks sports, as well as she is a fellow member of my Sports Empire Network. So quite familiar with Jory and her work. Definitely glad to have her on to talk some Tennessee Titans with us tonight. And again,
thank you.
As I told you at the draft, when we got AJ Brown for the next 3 years from then, Tennessee is my second favorite team. This is year 2. So we can't talk too much trash about Tennessee because they looked out, right? We gotta remember they looked out. You can't talk trash when they look out for the cookout. So with that being said, Jory, since you are our esteemed guest, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on the Tennessee Titan Philadelphia Eagles game from last season.
It was definitely, from my perspective, something. But I mean, I already knew what to expect. But the only good thing that came out of it was that John Robinson got fired the next day because of y'all.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad that we could give something back. You know, the way
I
y'all
Got
looked
that
out
man
for us.
fired. I appreciate it because I believe that he should have been fired the day he traded AJ. But because we know that AJ didn't want to go, they just didn't want to pay him, and that's his fault. But watching that game, it was like I felt like I was watching an O-line made out of string cheese. I'm like, Philly's just a really good team. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw them in the Super Bowl. That was that game that had me saying Philly could go all the way, and I was actually right. But that game was really stressful. Between the offensive line, my defense didn't come to play. We were all hurt. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It was just a stress-induced game. And I knew we didn't have a chance. Like, after the second quarter, I'm like, you know what? Why am I even watching this? But you just have to, that was one of those games that you knew it was happening and you just couldn't help but to react and look like this. Like, what am I supposed to do about this? And then it got a little bit better, and then it got worse again. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Diva, what are your thoughts on that game?
That game was amazing. Defense actually showed up the whole entire game and held down Derrick Henry, and he's a very hard person to contain. And we contained him very well. I was really surprised. I don't know if G-Man was coaching or they was just coaching themselves, but defense came and showed up and showed out. Jalen Hurts showed up and showed out. 380 yards, 29 for 39, and he only ran the ball 5 carries this time. Miles Sanders actually showed up a little bit, had 10 carries, 24 yards. Boston Scott had 6. Kenny Gainwell had 3. So overall, it was a running game and a passing game. And A.J. Brown, thank y'all so much for A.J. You love being an Eagle now, but thank you. 119 yards, 8 receptions. Devontae Smith had 102 yards. Jack Stoll had 41. Kenneth Gainwell had a receiving yard for 38. Quez had 37. Zach Pascal had 16. Miles Sanders had 4. But just ball. The whole team ball.
Calcaterra had 19. Yeah, it was, yeah.
It's a good game. Go ahead, Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, this was kind of the opposite of the game we just talked about against the Packers here, where we were running it the whole time. It just kind of shows you how versatile the offense could be, where they just flip that switch to the next week when they know how to go kind of pass heavy. Like Diva said, the defense held together pretty much the whole game. The only issue I really had was letting Ryan Tannehill somehow run all over us in the that first quarter and a half. I don't know how he was getting away with that. It was some wild stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, it was a great game. We all kind of expected, after the AJ Brown trade and everything, as soon as we saw Tennessee on the schedule, you knew that AJ was probably going to have that kind of game. And of course he did. We didn't expect to see Devontae go out there and do the same thing as well. But, it was great to see Hurts going out and, slinging it like he did. I mean, 29 to 39 is amazing in that kind of game.
Almost 400 yards.
And he only ran the ball 5 times in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually curtailed.
They're still tired from
trash.
that Packers game.
Trash. They gave
But
me
we
a
really
heart
like
attack.
what they did was they took them out of their own game. They didn't let Tennessee play the game they wanted to play. And like Diva said, I was as surprised as anybody. We were all surprised we were stopping Derrick Henry like we were. We expected him to get his 100, like he was getting damn near every game.
Yeah, I mean, Nakobe Dean got some action in this game, so that was a big thing for me. He's a guy that we're going to depend on a lot this year. He's the play caller from what we've seen so far. He's the one with the green dot on his helmet, so he's the play caller for the defense. So him getting some time was very important. Anytime we can get guys like Josiah Scott out there to get a little time, Blankenship, these are guys that are part of our future, whether as a starter, whether as a backup. So seeing them get some time on the field during this game was very important because it allows them to get that playing time. Tennessee, Jory, it's going to be better this year.
I know it's
I believe it's going to be better for y'all this
For
year.
real.
But
It'll be way better this year because I actually have a wide receiver instead of a whole bunch of guys that should be playing at Walmart. But that's neither here nor there. When I tell you my receivers could not separate for nothing. I mean, they had selective catching skills all that whole year. That's why when we played y'all, I'm like, I hope they fire this man right after. I'm like, Monday morning, he was out of there. I'm like, thank God. Thank God.
Now, Concool, I really like from your team. I picked him to be a breakout player this year as a guy's a second-year player on my radio show. So I think a Concool is really talented as a pass catcher. Was pretty solid blocker as a tight end as well. Young guy, him. And I think the problem for me watching you guys, Traylon Burks was not prepared to be your best receiver last year.
Mm-mm.
And they tried to put him in that role. They tried to basically say, oh, he's A.J. Brown. No, he's not A.J. Brown. Now, physically, he might have some similar characteristics, similar size, run similar shuttle numbers and things like that. But he doesn't have that experience yet. He doesn't have other guys around him to help him, and he hadn't got that NFL confidence yet. So I think that was a bad decision. I mean, obviously some questions with you guys still at the quarterback position as well. So, Jory, you're a fan. I know you're watching. I know you are inside. I know you get the information. What is happening at quarterback?
See, what's happening is that Ryan Tannehill's on the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
But with the move to go get DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be the starter. So anybody else that's spreading out misinformation is lying. He's going to be the starter with that move right there.
Mm-hmm.
Just this today I read that Mike Vrabel said that Malik Willis has made leaps and bounds. So I was like, it's kind of favorable. I'm not too high on Will Levis. I don't like it. But if they can make Will Levis work, it'll work. I'm not the football person. I just know what I've seen in Kentucky, wherever he played at, and I'm like, this is a football quarterback? Good Lord. All right. But with Ryan Tannehill is going to be the starter. Malik Willis has made leaps and bounds. I've seen that. So he's going to be number 2. And if all else fails, trot out Mr. Levis. I feel like if he's going to start at any point this year, that means all the wheels will fell off. And I don't expect that happening.
I think Tannehill should start. I've personally always been a fan of Tannehill. When he was in Miami, I thought he did really well in Miami. And when he got hurt, it's like Miami just turned their back on him. So I've always kind of been a fan of Tannehill, and I think that definitely he should start with DeAndre Hopkins. Coming in.
Absolutely. He got good coaching too with Vrabel.
People hate Tannehill. There's the only reason why people don't like Tannehill is that Cincinnati game.
I don't know why. I've always liked Tannehill.
That game right there. It was the Cincinnati game where he threw 3 picks.
Well, who don't throw? Everybody throws picks.
That's my thing. I'm like, you can't sit here and tell me this man is trash if you're looking at the stats where he's borderline top 12, top 10 maybe, depending on how you look at it. If you look at his stats, he's excellent with play action pass. He's mobile. He can run. He can use his legs. Right. So I'm like, why are you calling this man trash? And he's had pretty much a high 90 QBR for the past 4 years.
And he had really good numbers in Miami before he got hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always thought he was a solid quarterback. The thing is, if you can get a guy that's top 15, top 20, put a good system around him that hides some of his weaknesses and accents his strengths, yeah, he's a guy that should be able to go out and win games for you. And I do agree, Jory, obviously bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, you're looking at things a little different. Like maybe we can at least contend for the division now, so we do things a little differently.
Mm-hmm. We've always been a contender for the division. That division is not very good. I will admit that. I just don't understand why people are so quick to give Jacksonville the crown, because that's a whole nother spill. I'll get into that later. But the division is relatively soft. So I feel like we've always had a chance. I know the 2 teams that probably don't have much of a chance, one is the Colts, and the other one may or may not be the Houston Texans. But As far, I don't understand that this team has always been competitive. As long as we have Vrabel, he's gonna get the most out of those players. The year he won Coach of the Year, we went through about 80-something players. Was that COVID year? I believe so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be able to compete, and we're probably like, if the only question, like genuine question that I know that I'm still kind of concerned about is how my offensive line is gonna gel. Because we did draft Peter Skoronski at 11. We still have Aaron Brewer, who's going to be center this year. The rest of them are pretty much returning vets, but Jesus Christ, the depth behind that is not much.
Right.
So I don't want to be put in the same situation as of last year where we lose our best left tackle and it derails the whole season. Like last year, week 2, Taylor Lewan goes down, re-aggravates the same ACL that he tore, and there went my season right there. So that's the only concern I have. Like, I like my secondaries. I know my defensive line gonna be an issue. Thinking about Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry's coming back, Danico Autry. We got Arden Key, some good linebackers. My defensive unit is going to be solid. My biggest concern is the offensive line at this point.
Yeah, you always need depth on the line. That's something we've always, tried to build on. So, you got to first get the right starting group, and then you can build the guys behind them. But I definitely do think Titans are a team that are going to be headed in a better direction. So, Jory, one more question I have, and I don't know if you guys have a question, but one other question I have. Do you think Malik Willis is going to actually make this team? And do you think he's going to end up being your quarterback of the future, or are you more confident in Will Levis?
That's asking me the better of two evils.
It is.
From what I've seen from Malik, I like him a lot more. He's more decisive about his decision. Yeah, he's more decisive when it comes to decision making, his presence in the pocket. You can tell he's actually been working during the offseason to improve. I believe that if Malik, I honestly don't know. I feel like, because I don't like Will Levis at all. I don't like him at all. I hated the pick. I turned my TV off when I saw that pick. I'm like, I'm good for the rest of the night.
So, like I said, I take the fact that Tennessee's my second favorite team for this year, next season, very seriously. So when they made that pick, I was like, why Tennessee? Why?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, we were originally going to try to. I know this for a fact. We were going to try to trade up to 3 to get Stroud, but Houston does Houston things. But if it was between Malik or Levis, just based off of, I know Malik has game experience, albeit it wasn't very good. He has game experience. I am more comfortable with him using his legs and his arm now because I've seen it. I have to go with him. I'm not sure what I'm going to get with Will Levis. I'd rather have somebody who I know has experience, who I know has gotten better, than somebody who I know is a gunslinger but throws it everywhere. But to his targets.
I feel it. So, Diva, any other thoughts on the game or anything else for Jory?
How much depth do you think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to actually add for the Titans this year?
I feel like he's going to help develop my wide receiver room. Because a lot of them do need that extra.
They need
somebody
that
who they know is better than them.
Yeah.
In there. Maybe it'll help light a fire. Like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, he actually hit the free agency market. He didn't get an offer, so he came back. Like, come on now.
Because he said he need a paycheck.
I'm like, that's probably why he came back to camp looking like he had gained 15 more pounds of muscle because he was mad. But DeAndre Hopkins will help my wide receiver room. Now, he's probably going to be my X receiver. Burks is going to be my Y. Now, whoever's going to be after that, I don't want to see Nick Westbrook and Keenan unless I have to. I'd rather see Kyle Phillips or even put the other rookie in there, Colton Dowell. I like what I saw so far from him. But he's going to help develop that wide receiver. He's not going to add much depth, but I do know he's going to be more available. He keeps his body up. He's not going to be very injured like that.
And he will catch the ball.
He will catch the ball. I don't have to worry about selective catching abilities with him. And then with him on the other side of Treylon, DeAndre will take the true number one coverage, which opens up that side of the field, which helps pretty much, yeah.
All right, Wyatt, what about you, sir?
Yeah, considering that, say that Tannehill is your starter, and that the O-line is stays healthy and is pretty decent throughout the season. What do you think the ceiling is for the Tennessee Titans? Like, how far do you think that team can go with Ryan Tannehill staying healthy and that O-line, staying strong throughout the whole season?
Looking at the schedule, mind you, we played a whole AFC South. We played a whole AFC. We do play the whole AFC South. The NFC South. That's what I'm trying to get at. We played a whole NFC South and the AFC North. I think we could break 10, 11 wins, to be completely honest.
Okay.
That's not being too hyper optimistic, but it's not too low either. I think we're going to hit 10, 11 wins this year.
I can see that. I mean,
win that division, go into the playoffs strong.
Yep.
I mean, y'all started off pretty strong last year, though. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then all the wheels broke off. Started getting injured. Everybody started getting hurt.
Injuries.
And once Jeffrey Simmons got hurt, I got mad. I'm like, Christ, I didn't need you getting hurt.
Yeah, injuries are something that we stayed away a lot from last year. That helped us be successful. But they're tough. So, Jory, any last thoughts that you have? And also let the people know where they can find you.
This was very fun. I'm kind of nervous a little bit, so excuse me. But this was fun. Thank you guys for the experience. You guys can find me on Jory Sports Stories over on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. And over on the Sports Empire Network. Next week, I'll be on the Coffee and Sports Morning Show on Wednesday morning. Those are my days. But yeah, you can find me on Sports Network, and you can find me on Jory Sports Stories.
Follow her. We love to see the women in the sports.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, so Jory, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.
No problem.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
You guys too.
All right, guys. So getting near the end of the show. Any other thoughts on any of the topics that we discussed today?
No, I'm just ready for the season.
Oh, yeah.
Same. I'm ready for training camp. Some more training camp and get some hype videos out here. Even though we were talking about, taking it with a grain of salt, it still gets you excited, get you hyped for the season, man.
Anything's better than nothing. We had nothing.
Exactly. But speaking of health, just the last note I had here is nobody was open. We didn't coming into training camp with anybody on the PUP list. So everybody's pretty much out there practicing at the moment.
Good job. Well, let's hope it stay that way because injury bug loves the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
We're still pretty
That's
healthy
true.
last year. Hopefully we can, kind of be there. A couple of injuries, but nobody's gonna go out a whole season without some injuries. I'll say this. I wasn't confident quite with saying it last year, but I will say it this year. World Championship or bust.
It has to be.
It has to be. We got to finish their story we didn't finish last year. It's okay. You don't always win. You don't win every time. It was Hurt's second real year as a starter. Made a lot of improvements. Got us there. It's time to go back and finish the story this year. It may be Kansas City again. Buffalo may get themselves together. It may be them. It could be Cincinnati. It could be somebody else. It could be Miami. If Tua stays healthy.
Yeah.
So we'll see who it is, but whoever it is, you better have your popcorn ready. And ironically, we play Kansas City, Miami, and Buffalo. So these are teams that we're going to have played, win or lose throughout the season. So we'll have some firsthand knowledge So that's going to be the good side. The bad side is we got to play them in the regular season. So it's going to be harder to repeat the amount of wins that we had last year. I don't think we'll be able to coast at the end of the year this year. I think this is we got to play through week 17 to win the division and try to get that number 1 seed. I mean, we can win without it, but if you can get it, why not have it? That's, how I look at it.
Yeah. It's going to be definitely a tougher season than it was last year here for us. We're going to have to work for that division and, fight for hopefully get that number 1 seed. That way we make sure the playoffs run through Philly like it did last year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got another comment here, guys. So let me, of course, Philly signing off, ready for my birds. See y'all next week. Definitely Philly, definitely. So just want to shout everybody out. Of course, shout out our Shady Sports Network, who's also broadcasting the show, our partner. Want to go ahead and throw a little something out for them to get you guys a little affiliated with them. And we'll be back with our last thoughts.
This is Brett, and you're watching Shady Sports Network. Tune in, hit that like button.
You might wonder, what do these guys do? Player signing announcements. I never in a million years thought you would actually come on to break this news. So without further ado, go ahead and tell everybody what happened today.
Yeah, man. I just had to work out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Signing me right out.
Without further ado, I'd like to announce that, I'll be taking my talents to Salina Liberty.
This just in, the Major League of Football is reportedly collapsing, unable to pay hotel room bills, with players being kicked out of their rooms and hotel managers asking them to leave voluntarily without issue.
All right, so guys, any last thoughts?
No.
Not really, man. I'm just ready to get this month over with, the training camp. That way we can get into the even preseason, man. Give me some preseason games at this moment. I'm fiending for some football.
Yeah, then we'll be previewing and reviewing the preseason game. Something. I just need some
straight up. Yeah, I'm just glad the Eagles are back. That's how I felt watching them coming out the training camp this morning in those videos, man. I was like, it's finally here.
Yeah, what do you say?
Absolutely. So, with that being said, just make sure you're tuning in with us next week live. Share the show, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be bringing out some new things. So I'm going to go ahead and announce it here. I'm going to be putting it out to some other avenues as well. But what we're going to be doing this season is trying to get female Eagles fans hop on, do an episode with us every week this season. Give you a chance to talk about the team, give us some fresh perspectives on the team, some different looks at the team, and also give some of our females in the fan base an opportunity to come on and kind of, give their take on what's happening with the team. So definitely hope we can, make that happen every week, working on it. But it's something we're striving to do here on the Eagles Elite podcast. And, we got 2-a-days next week again. We're doing 2 reviews. We got to get through the rest of the regular season and the playoffs and that wretched game at the end of the year. So we'll be doing that again next week. Hopefully we'll be able to have some guys come on and discuss the 2 teams that we have next week. Of course, training camp news, updates, who's cut, anybody's been brought in, any signings, anybody on the practice squad, whatever's happening, this is one of your places. And if you want to interact, this is your place for Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, we'll see you guys next week. A couple of things we do every week. Fly Eagles Fly.
Hashtag
be elite. And also, tell 2 of your friends and 4 of your enemies, because just because they don't like you doesn't mean they won't like us. Holler at us next week.